heart to welcome us. So, I mean, just to start with, I mean, I would like to start with this question. I mean, what is the first? Well, it's when I was very young as a child, my parents were driving down south, and I was really dazzled and flabbergasted looking through the window, the various plane tree avenues and the ways and roads, and which are really the signature of the countryside in the south of France. And me, it was, and I think that there has been, well, occasions previously, but I think the most striking souvenir is 6 months spending in a desert in Central Asia and come back to the city. And so it was the capital in Kazakhstan, and having all these tree alignment along the roads, and to have this impression of blossoming of trees and environment everywhere. And when I was a child, for example, in Alsace, and so it was not really a road, well, though it was kind of a river, and behind the city, the house of my grandparents, and then there were some spruce trees, and along the river it was already a kind of a tree avenue in itself, in a way. Second question, thank you very much. The second question, I mean, tomorrow evening we're going to leave, and the symposium will be successful if what? If. What is the condition for the success? Well, to me, I mean, because I'm in charge of the department and in charge of the roads and mobility, then we manage 40,000 trees around these kilometers. And what is important to me is really to have the language aspects to move on in the work we're doing in the department to preserve the trees in order to maintain these trees also, but also preserve these tree heritage so that we can prepare for the future in the best way and the clearest way with all the indications you'll be able to share with us. To me, I mean, the success depends on each of you. I mean, if you can go back home with something you will have learned and an action you will have been able to implement to preserve the alignment of trees. Well, if we feel sorry to separate and to part each other, and then happy to meet again the next time, so that will be a success. And next question, I mean, what would you like to add up to welcome us for this symposium? And Eric is going to start, and so Eric, I mean, you have a few minutes just to introduce this symposium. And so this is the third and last question, where you may say everything you'd like to say, and then you'll be done. So that's my introduction. I'm supposed to introduce that, to speak about. So my first words, of course, I mean, are going to the Conseil départemental of the Aude Department Council for hosting us, and Tamara RIVEL, also Vice President of Roads and Mobility, and Francis Morlon, also Vice President in charge of ecological transition. And you would allow me, please, ladies and gentlemen, elected members, to thank more specifically also one of your cooperators, Sabine Cosinus, and all the departments who worked with us to welcome us for this symposium. I'd like to thank also the Iris Foundation for the preservation of the beauty of the world, and Valor also, the Horticultural, Forestry and Landscaping Trade Association, also the Norimat, France's leading manufacturer of professional solutions for roadside verges, and Mathieu Bar and Viry, I mean, two companies in the field of civil engineering. The Meunier, which is a German company, Exit, also a German company also, and so of course, I mean, I would like to extend myself, but climate change is a perceptible reality. And yesterday, I mean, we spoke about 60 degrees in even in Lyon, and there were also repeated storms with 1.3 billion euros cost, which is the cost estimated, but also the collapse of biodiversity, which we do not really realize how important it is actually. The preservation of trees in this context is fundamental, and we are here actually to speak about this topic. I mean, we need to plant trees. I mean, Europe with the Green Pact adopted 3 years ago, then wanted to had a target to plant 3 billion trees. And so this ambition to maintain existing trees and replant new ones is a reality in our department. And we're talking with Francis previously, and this is a real commitment, a sincere commitment also. The street trees and roadside trees also are concerned, and because these trees being planted in alleys or avenues, I mean, have additional qualities that other trees do not have. It's a particular cultural dimension also that still unites Europe centuries after they were planted, and this is what we're going to approach this afternoon. And also a strong democratic dimension, also very strong space and of streets and roads also is very accessible to all, and with a variety of uses. And so we'll see with the various studies presented this morning and also testimonials tomorrow. And of course, a remarkable landscape force or scenic force linked to the quality of the architecture, which today will also lead us to explore the notion of ornament that is attached to them. So the protection laws, I mean, help to preserve the alleys or the avenues, say. But sometimes the kind of a distance between the text and the reality. You see, for example, talking about Lithuania this afternoon and closer to home, and there are plane trains also which are failed for the A69 motorway between Castres and Toulouse, which is a real problem actually, and questions the mobility for the future. We also have trees being felled when building cycling paths, which raises the question also of the political or policies consistency. So we could also talk about the step-by-step gradual death of trees through ignorance of good management practices. And so we just lack this kind of knowledge. Now, replanting, I mean, keeping is fine, but replanting is also very important. I know the managers themselves recognize that it is impossible when planting on the edge of the carriageway is forbidden in the name of road safety. So this is the concept of forgiving roads, that is, no lateral obstacle should aggravate the road departure. So none of us can and wants to treat road safety in a casual way, and none of us want to ignore the direct or indirect impact it can have on families affected by road accidents. And these human consequences can be devastating, and usually are when in general, when the accident involves hitting a tree. Nevertheless, I mean, this concept of forgiving road, these called what we call safety distance rules, go back to the 1960s in the United States, and these rules are now present in all road safety policies. So 60s, 70s, I mean, it's still, I mean, 60 years ago. So. Now, we speak about a zero vision or vision zero or safe system. And so we understand that we have to remind or keep in mind the reality of the 60s and 70s and the problems we had to face. And so it was the post-war boom in car traffic and with the accident rate and number of road deaths, I mean, peaked in both the United States and France in 1972 with 56,000 deaths in the United States and 18,000 casualties in France. So it's interesting to know that this is also the time when landscapers are disappearing from road design teams in the United States. That is, people whose job is to take into account the territory, this cultural dimension, and the values that the people attach to it. to this territory. Now, today, I mean, our society changed. What does it resemble? What does it look like? And what problems are we facing? Violence linked to road accidents has fallen sharply in developed countries. At the same time, traffic is increasing and growing. In the European Union, 10 times more premature casualties are linked to air pollution, that is 238,000 casualties, than compared with road accidents. I mean, the violence also of the wars that are coming back with the risk of also of extinction of the human species. So the question I wanted to raise during this symposium, given the difficulty that the rule of the forgiving road poses for 3 lanes, a difficulty already pointed out in the white paper called infrastructure, road infrastructures and 3 avenues. So in these road safety rules, are these rules still relevant? Does it address the problem of road safety? Is it consistent with the needs of today's world? Now, we're just starting the COP28, so which means the 28th edition. It's been 28 years that we are being warned on the global warming and climatic change. I mean, who would believe such a thing? And I put this in parallel with these 30 years, explaining that the context is moving and it's changing. So we remember the letter of President Georges Pompidou, who said in 1970, quote, "The preservation of roadside trees is essential for the beauty of our country, for the protection of nature, for the preservation of a human environment, and modern life in its concrete, tarmac, and neon surrounding will increasingly create a need for everyone to get away from it all." And also he added, France is not designed only to enable French people to travel by car, and however important road safety problems may be, this should not lead to a landscape being disfigured, unquote. And you'll find this in your booklet. So with Mathieu Fresneau, we started this symposium to shed some light on the Pompidou years and perhaps on what our mobility will look like in the future. Then today and tomorrow also we'll explore the notion of essential beauty for the country with these notions of brand image, but also of social cohesion. Essential beauty for nature, today we would say the environment, but essential beauty also for the human environment, our mental well-being in the face of a turmoil world, and our capacity for empathy also. So by raising the question, central key question, what makes it ethically possible for a political decision maker, such as the President of the Republic and our fortiori today's political decision makers, to take this into account? And how? And in such a way, I mean, 3 avenues and trees in general are raising questions about the meaning of our lives. Thank you.
Voilà, et votre introduction. Pardon, je vous laisse introduire.
So I'll let you introduce also your topic. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, President, from ALLÉES-AVENUES. Thank you also to Chantal Prading for having curated this symposium. Anyway, we met in the south of France, in Toulouse, I mean, to share on the good practices and good practices on our roads, and so how we should preserve our tree heritage. And so our president, I mean, Éric MUTSCHLER, I mean, telling us and raising questions regarding how come that the Aude is so advanced. There are 2 things, actually. First of all, we've been united over the last elections with the ecology movement, and Francis is also part of the ecologist movement and ecological transition, but it's also something we experienced because I remember as a child, I mean, I would stick my nose to the window to look at the windows, the places where we would walk around in the summer in the south. But it's also an emotional shock, a very strong emotional shock, which is linked to the fact that we used to live with my mother in a small pavilion in Carcassonne on the edge of pine tree avenues, and a new mayor, which who had just been elected, all of a sudden decided to fell these trees. And so I was studying architecture because I am an architect parallel to my activities here. So immediately my mother called me, and so I mean all the people from all the population of this area, I mean just mobilized and got united so that there could be an expression, a kind of citizen expression regarding this kind of a scarf was going to remain in our area, because it was the only element which was an element of beauty and embellishing the space, which gives us the idea of a gathering. Now, this avenue was preserved, actually, and I'm glad for that. And today, I mean, the presidency of the department entrusted me regarding the management of road, trees, and its heritage. So in this context, I mean, we are sort of in a situation of we are trying to repair the past, and the will to really have in our territory and landscape to have this kind of trace our ancient population left us, and see in the future what will leave as a legacy to our children. So I'm really deeply moved regarding this symposium. It's a great honor on behalf of the department to see experts, researchers, academics, philosophers also in the field of landscape, teachers also, to stand side by side to see how we can progress in the future. Now, with the department services and various departments, we started getting involved in this preservation of trees, and we adopted a month ago the tree charter of the landscape, and you can help yourself, it's on the table, so that we raise awareness among the citizens and all the decision makers. And I think this is very important also, because we are not we're not supposed to teach anyone anything, to our colleagues, I mean those who are planning the land. But we really wish that there is a full resilience regarding these trees, who are very good criteria to improve our biodiversity. And it's very important for these trees to be maintained, managed, and preserved, and be respected. And so we have also specifications also, which we distribute to all the local authorities. And so each year then we have meetings, and so it's been the 7th now this year, where we gather, the 4th, sorry, it's not the 7th, where we think about ecological transition, and this year we devoted to the question of trees and landscape. So it's a very strong moment. And of course, I mean, the question of accidents are questions we really have to answer, so that the users are safe when they drive along our roads. And the solutions we adopted in order to protect our citizens are very important. So we reflect about accidentology. And so everything you'll be able to share with us will be precious. Anyway, thank you very much to all of you. Welcome to those from France and abroad also. And I would like here, on behalf of the local authorities, would like to grant all our support to the Ukrainian population suffering at the moment. Thank you very much. Right. We see this commitment around tree alignments, commitment of men and women, which is part of the history and of our personal history also. And I believe, regarding this question revolving around the trees, tree alignment, might be our first relationship to nature. These spaces, green spaces we have in our villages, in our cities, these are essential. They were essential to build, and they are even more necessary now to live in our cities. So it is a very important element in terms of adaptation to climate change. Very important also in our southern countries also. And as a department, and you've seen with Tamara, we sort of started, triggered a kind of new policies, changing our paradigm in our practices, and we also work in the future through nurseries, because we are lucky to be one of the last French departments to have this production tool producing vegetables, which we use in our area to work on the edges of the buildings we manage, be it schools or administrative buildings or associations or whatever, but also on the roadsides, working with managers. And so we put at disposal these vegetables with a will of a territorial solidarity in order, so that all these 433 municipalities in the Aude, where the situations are completely different from each other. We have big municipalities with 50,000 inhabitants, and also municipalities with about 30 people, human beings. So that these people may make of this question their own and act in their neighborhood. And I think that these things are very important. These tree avenues are part of our project. And just as a conclusion, I think that what we try to do in the department is try to be consistent in our actions. And I find it difficult with some policymakers or who would like to plant millions of trees and at the same time, breach these laws. And so to me, the question is a matter of consistency. We can do both. We can do both at the same time. But we have to preserve our heritage and plant at the same time. So thank you very much.